KEMBO, Natata Nzambi and Mama Ndombe. All KEMBO belongs to our creators, and we definitely honor and acknowledge our elevated Bakulu of the light, our ancestors. We thank all of you for being with us. I say Mbote, I can't talk. Mbote Sieme, Saubona. To everyone here on Zoom, to everyone on Facebook and on YouTube. We thank you for being with us once again. We have another beautiful teaching from our sister, our Mama Brenda. And I thank our creators for her, for creating her and the spirit that she has, because, you know, she loves our people. Not that I don't, but we do. We love our people. She has a heart for the people. And I tell you, we are going to be bringing some things forward. And I know that we have to be careful, but we just want to expose the lies. And that is why this lesson is entitled Lies, Lies, and More Lies. So I'm going to turn it over to her so that she can present to you what was given to her. All right, Queen.
Hear me, everybody. I hope this is not too scattered, because I went out and took out some slides that I had in here. So I'm hoping I can pull it all together. It's going to make sense to you all, because it's information that our people know. You know, I just want to come with receipts with some things here. Of course, it's not a lot. It's a lot more information I could have shared and bring in the receipts, but it would have been too exhaustive. It would have been too long, and I don't want to make it long. I can bring a part two if need be, but I ended up going in another direction than where I was planning on going. So you all let's see, it'll come together though. So I want to look at some of the lies that we have been told concerning the people of the Bible, concerning our ancestors that were in Kemet, what they referred to as Egypt today. Briefly, like I said, it's very, very brief, because there's so much information out there that we can pull now, thanks to a lot of our people that have been writing about our history and rewriting to tell it, the narrative in the true perspective, in the African perspective. So I'm grateful for those. Many of them have gone on. I'm so grateful for the information. Now it's time for the new people to come. And we do have some that have gleaned from them to start writing even more books and learning more about our culture, who we are as a people, melanated people, and dispel all the lies, because there's so many historical and religious lies out there that we could go on and on and on and on and on exposing these lies, because we have been dealing with these lies for thousands of years, you all, not hundreds. Thousands of years. So to unpack these lies, it can take a long time, you all. So just briefly, we're going to try to unmask them today. So let me move some stuff around here. So I want to first look at this here. This is from This here is from a Bible study dictionary, and it says Joseph arrived in Egypt during the reign of the 12th dynasty of Egypt, when Egypt was in power. They're saying that when Joseph came into Kemet in Egypt, it was around the 12th dynasty. And shortly before, I need to move some stuff here. Sorry, you guys. Shortly before this era, Upper and Lower Egypt had been unified under the rule, and now Egyptian influence expanded during south and east. We ain't got to read all that. I just wanted you all to see that Joseph, this is what they're saying. So I'm just using their information to prove a point. That's all. Not saying necessarily that was a time frame. I'm just using it as a point of reference to prove a point with the information that they have written. So he arrived during the 12th dynasty, it says. Also, that was in a Bible encyclopedia dictionary or something. I can't remember. It may have been a Blue Letter study Bible. I can't remember. But anyway, there's another one because it's out of the mouth of 2 or 3. Okay. So this one here is from Bible Archaeology Report. It says, to determine when Joseph lived, we must work backwards from later biblical periods. And it said also that Joseph was in the 12th dynasty, which is the Middle Kingdom during the reign of our ancestors. So there's 2 different resources that I have used from them saying that Joseph was in Egypt during the Middle Kingdom, which is the 12th dynasty. So lock that in your mind. 12th dynasty, Middle Kingdom, Joseph, who was the Israelite, according to the Bible, Israelite, was in Kemet during this reign, during this time. And during this time, just a little tidbit here, it says this is the time frame where Egypt flourished in there, the math, the science, the arts, and things like that. So it was at its pinnacle during this particular time, if you could say so, during the 12th dynasty. And so these are the pharaohs here that reigned during the 12th dynasty. So if you look, you'll see what their features look like, okay? And they said, anyway, just these are the in the Middle Kingdom, these are the ones, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it was 8 of them during that particular period. Y'all see them good?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who do they look like as far as the ethnicity of the facial features you all see?
Melon.
Like us.
Negroes.
What you say, Mama Nicholas?
Negroes.
Yes, ma'am.
So they have African features, with the broad nose, thick lips, the ears. So they have the features. So all of them have those features. So we know, and they know also that these, during the 12th dynasty, when they said Joseph was there, whom they said Joseph was this color, was around here with these people, okay, ruling. We know for a fact that when our ancestors ruled, they didn't have nobody in there ruling that looked like this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just gonna take a look at some of these men here. One of them is a lady that Sobek Neferu was a female. She was one of the only female during this particular time that reigned, right? And we know that in the European culture, they did not allow their females to have such status, which is not so amongst us African people of African descent. I say African because just because we've been here for 100 years, you don't change who you are. Your DNA doesn't change just because you move somewhere. We need to understand that. So,
Absolutely.
So look at the nose.
What nose? They blew it off.
Yeah, the nose that they try to get rid of.
Wonder why they trying to get rid of that nose.
Hmm.
Well, based off of what's left, we pretty much know the ethnicity of this individual.
Well, yeah, you can look at the shape.
Yeah.
It was not a keen nose or a pointed nose.
Nope, it was broad. You still see the outline of it. It was a broad nose. How they describe African people, like the broad nose.
You can see that triangle too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was the first king of the Middle Kingdom of the dynasty. So we already established, based upon their facial features, that they were of African descent. We know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is another one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another one that ruled.
Man, he looked like one of my cousins.
That look like Pookie. You can definitely see the African features in this here statue here that they have. This bust, rather, the nose. It has another part to it, but I don't think it survived or something. They said so. They just have the head, but you can definitely see the African features.
Yeah, no doubt.
Here's another one.
Oh, definitely.
The Saret was the Greek name that they gave him. The third, you definitely see the all up in the head. You definitely see the features.
Even tried to get rid of some of the lips.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You see, they got it black, the face, because they were depicting, themselves, showing a picture of who they are as far as their skin color, And this is a relief that was found, I think, in one of the tombs here. So the Middle Kingdom produced much of, okay, that's what I was talking about earlier, what is characteristic of Egypt under the Pharaohs. So they got the religious theories and rituals from the Middle Kingdom, it said. So this is a relief also during that particular time, you all, and you see what the skin color is like. See what the hair and everything. So,
yep.
Now this here is Sennacherib, first ruler of Egypt during the 12th dynasty. He ruled at the beginning of the second millennium BC.
I think it's Sennacherib 1 or Sennacherib the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's their first ruler.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's right. Sennacherib 1, ruler of Egypt dynasty during the second millennium. So he ruled during that time as well, you all. And as you can see, you see the lips, you see the nose, you see the ears, and the skin color that he was depicting himself as. And they try to lie and said that, well, they didn't have white during that time. Look at his eyes. They said they didn't have white paint. Well, it looked like his eyes white to me.
Exactly.
So they come up with all types of narratives to try to cover up the lies that they have told about who the ancient Egyptian or the people of Kemet were. They were not the Arabs that are over there now. They were not white people, because the white people in America, they depict them as white in the movies and say that they are the Egyptian. Then you have the Arabs. So all these people were people, when you look at it, that colonized our land. You have the Europeans over here, these Americans, the white folks, the Europeans. They colonized our land. And you have the Arabs. The Arabs came in and colonized that area. So both of them were trying to say, oh, we really are the Egypt. No, you all are not. You came in and you colonized that area and took over that land of the indigenous people, the Kushites, known as Kush and Nuba. No, you all are not. So this was found in the tomb of Machete of the 11th dynasty. Now, this is not the 12th dynasty, but still, I'm just proving a point here. And this is found in one of the tombs. Look at the skin color. Look at the hair.
Right.
These are black people.
Yeah.
Not people, not with pheomelanin, with eumelanin. Distinct difference.
Mm-hmm.
And this
and their garments, what color are their garments?
Which one? The one on the left or right?
Left.
White.
And they didn't have no white paint.
That's what they say. And look at their neck, because I'm going to show you something, you all. So look at the earrings. Look at the jewelry. Pay attention to the details, the small details. So you see that around their neck, right?
Even the bracelets.
Excuse me. And you see the earrings. So remember that around the neck. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not pulling out everything, just a little bit to prove a point here. So not to drag it out and make it long, but you can see that they depicted themselves as melanated people, black people. When I say melanated, I'm talking about the eumelanin, so the world can know, the ones that looking. Eumelanin is responsible for black and brown skin, not the white folks, not anybody else, just us, what they refer to as black folks. When I say melanin, that's who we're talking about.
Say that word a little slower.
Which one? Eumelanin?
Uh-huh.
And pheomelanin?
Eumelanin.
Uh-huh.
And pheomelanin.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Distinct
So we are the eumelanin.
The eumelanin produces our skin color,
Uh-huh.
your skin color. You see me, you are darker brown than I am.
Mhm.
My mom is a lot brown than I am, light skin, very light skin. So I'm in between you and my mom. So African people produce this skin color, and the eumelanin is responsible for the different shades of the brown and black amongst what they refer to as Negroes, Black folks, Africans, African American, us, Black folks.
So, pheomelanin.
All other. All other.
So when they say they had melanin, those palm colored,
all of them. All of them. It produces yellow pigmentation. Pheomelanin is responsible for the yellow pigmentation and the cream, white, pink, the different name they give, that and everybody else. Okay.
So when they say they had melanin, we know what type.
Yeah.
Pheomelanin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a very weak version of melanin that is protected. We'll get into that another time, but it's a defective type. Let's put it like that in short. The pheomelanin is a defective type.
Send it back.
Yeah.
So now we already established that that Joseph.
Is this supposed to be Joseph?
What?
Wait, hold on. Okay, they said that
Very
Joseph.
funny.
They said that Joseph was. Come on, I jumped it too soon.
Oh man!
They said that Joseph was during the 12th dynasty. He was over in Egypt. So that's why I showed you these folks during the 12th and even some before in the 11th, and even these on the left, the 18th dynasty. Okay. So when they tell you, oh, Egypt wasn't black or white, it was a hodgepodge. No, it wasn't. It was a hodgepodge. It became a hodgepodge when they started, when they came in, the Greeks, the Romans, the lighter skinned Arabs, because the original Arabs are black, our cousins. They have the eumelanin, the real.
Yeah, they're dark.
Indigenous ones, not the ones that mix with the dark-skinned Arabs, the Greeks, and the Romans to produce this right here. Those are not the original Arabs, you all. So know that. So those Arabs and those Greeks and those Romans, it became a different color when they colonized that area, which was thousands of years ago. So they failed to tell people that. So initially, no, the indigenous people of that land, because that land was all African people, even Palestine or Israel, whatever you want to call it, that was part of Kemet. That was part of Egypt. Mm-hmm. And there are some slides that I took out because I didn't want to make this too long, showing how, even on the old maps I have, showing how it was part of Africa. And you don't have no water, no Red Sea that they had to pass to go through Palestine from Kemet. So that's a lie. Mm-hmm. For the Bible thumpers out there, they didn't cross no Red Sea. They didn't have to. It was land they went over, and it's on the old maps. Don't take much of a little research to figure this out, that Bible lied on a lot of things. That's why I tell people, y'all be very careful with that Bible. Mm-hmm. Be very careful.
It wasn't that they failed to tell us. They just do what they do. They lied.
And then we have our people that I'm talking about that is perpetuating these lies.
Yes.
Because it's the Bible, and they think that everything in the Bible is true. They think that it is the infallible word of God. And it is not. It is not.
So let's see, Joseph.
It's just words written down by a man.
Right.
So who they say Joseph is, y'all.
Wait.
This is how he looked like, rather.
Is this a comedy Zoom session? The comedy Zoom session? I mean, like,
how he's dressed.
How could this?
Look at I just put this picture to show you all this.
See Joseph living in Africa when the temperatures are and the sun is beaming down on you, and the temperature is like maybe 100 degrees or in the high 90s or whatever.
Looking like
You're
George
white like
Washington.
Go
Right.
back.
They wouldn't. This is just a
Yeah,
fake.
like George Washington.
This is a different type Joseph, but this is who, when you research on the internet, I just use this picture. This is his skin color. This is the skin color that they depict him as, is what I'm saying.
Hasty. Hasty.
And look at that
Hasty
nose.
white.
Look at the nose. Look at the lips.
Oh, he got lipstick on. Seriously?
So we just dispel that lie that we know that Joseph, if they say that Joseph was around Kemet in the 12th dynasty, and he's, according to the Bible, he was a visor, had a position. And we know that during this time, when the Black Africans ruled, they didn't have no outsiders coming to rule them. In fact, they was against them, and it was war over in Africa. If you research it, they don't tell people this. With Candace, she fought off the Romans. You will see that there were different wars over there when the Greeks and Romans came in. So they weren't gonna let this person come up over them.
No.
So if they're saying that Joseph ruled during the 12th dynasty, then we know
like
he
that.
was not this color. He was this color. It's not this, but this. Not this, but this. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, that other picture, you saw his hair.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He looked like he wasn't the most masculine fella in that picture.
That's why I said he had lipstick on.
Yes.
Not Joseph. Joseph.
Not masculine He-Man Joseph. Looking like that, weak.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Okay, so one of their own, this Gaston Maspero, supposedly a historian, I guess, or anthropologist or whatever, he said that the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, belong to the who race? The African race, Black folks, melanated people. This was one of their own. And this was in 1917. Not that we need y'all to give credence to who we are. We know who we are. We just showing how that y'all know the truth. Mm-hmm. Y'all come out and y'all and change this narrative, trying to interject yourself where you don't belong and where you haven't been. You're there now because you came in, you stole, killed, you raped, etc. Still what your children are doing today. Nothing has changed. And I'm so glad that our brothers and sisters on the continent are realizing who these people are, what they are about. They have been after us and our land for eons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're not Afrikaans.
Exactly.
They white folk. They're European.
Yeah.
They're not Afrikaans.
They're
Africans are Africans.
They're colonizers.
They're not Afrikaans. So
they're European.
Dispel right now. Yes, they're European.
Yes. And while, like I said, that young man was trying to protect them, he not realizing he was embarrassing his ancestors, because you're defending the children of the ones who came in and colonized their land. That's how did they get in your land? Ask yourself that question. Their ancestors came in there and killed off your ancestors and took that land. And you feel the need to protect them? Please protect your ancestors. Your ancestors are smirking at you right now. Mm-hmm. You're a disgrace to the ancestors to make such a statement like that. I don't care how long they've been over there trying to say, well, the African Americans are over in America and they call themselves African Americans. No, they gave us that name. Right. For record anyway, when they brought our ancestors over here, stole them off the continent, when you look at records, they never referred to them as Black. They never referred to them as African Americans. They referred to them as Africans.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so we, their children, are still what? If they were African, guess what? We the children.
We're Africans.
Just because we're in America.
Right. We're Africans that live in America because we were human trafficked.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. We're prisoners of war. We are.
Yes.
when you want to tell the truth of the matter, we're prisoners, because it was war that happened. I told you way back when I'm not even talking about in the 15, 16, 17, 1800s. I'm talking about way back. It was war back then going on. So that's what I'm saying, that these colonizers, these folks, the Pheo-melanin people have been coming into our land in Africa for years, you all, years. We've been dealing with this for a long time, and we're just tired. We're just tired. Dealing with all of this, with these, and they haven't changed. Their children are still doing the same thing that they did. They're still trying to colonize the land, and they're just doing it by different means. Nothing has changed at all. It's just the methods that they're using to steal, to usurp, to take over. They're just using different methods now. That's all.
Yes.
And so Sir E.A. Wallace Budge, they said that he was saying that how the Hebrew and the Egyptian words were the same. You know, I showed you all this book a while ago, this African wrote, talking about how the Bantu words and the Egyptian words are the same, and that how the Egyptian words actually came from, the Bantu are the prototype of the Egyptian language, of the Egyptian words. And here he's saying the Hebrew. So who is he talking about Hebrew then? Who is he talking about? The Egyptian alphabet has a great deal in common with Hebrew and other Semitic dialects. So we have to be very careful when we start reading into what they say and read between the lines of what they're not saying. That's what we need to do. So again, there's a book out there that talks about how the Bantu language is the prototype to Egyptian language. And here, this guy here with the Pheo-melanin is saying that Hebrew and Egyptian is the same. So again, who's the Hebrew? Read into what he's not saying.
Yeah. Got it.
Spoke it first.
Remember remember that jewelry?
Yeah.
Things around the neck?
Yeah. That's us.
This is all over Africa. I pulled this right here is from Etsy. They selling, so it's not a real person. So that's why she's a dummy, because you're not a real person, a mannequin with the jewelry. But this is Ghana. This is jewelry from Ghana. This is from Benin. And I just pulled just certain. It's others out there all over Africa, Nigeria, South Africa. This is what you saw in that picture. Remember. And you see it all over Africa, where you see these folks wearing stuff like that to this day.
Original melanated man, woman, and child.
I said, where you see these folks talking about? Where do you see them wearing it anywhere in Europe?
No.
No.
Not unless they're trying to copy off of us.
So
yep, exactly.
The children that's all scattered all over still have or still wearing jewelry.
Exactly.
Or the Arabs? Do the Arabs wear that?
No.
The Arabs don't even dress like this right here. And you gonna say that right there is your ancestor? They ain't even fully covered up. Y'all covered up from head to toe.
Right.
Oh, y'all, this stuff makes sense now.
It can't.
Because the Kemetic culture is our culture.
What's that again, brother?
The Kemetic culture of ancient Egypt, that's our culture. That's why we keep wearing, like the collar, the same thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Our brothers and sisters on the continent are still doing what their mothers and fathers did in Kemet. They still dress in that way. Granted, we have our people on the continent that is dressing in European attire, but you still see them wearing their culture attire, which is beautiful, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Very, very beautiful, extravagant looking.
Yes.
Look at how they look. They look beautiful.
They're very beautiful.
Very much.
Ain't nobody like us, you melanin folks. Nobody.
Right.
I thank the Most High too when I be doing like
Yes.
I'm so thankful that you made me in your image.
Yes.
I said, I don't want to be anybody else. Thank you for creating me in your image, your likeness.
Yes.
Yes.
I sure do thank him. I love the that I'm in.
There you go. Cameo. Cameo, scan I'm in. Look it up.
So we've already established that according to them, Joseph was in Egypt during a time where our people, the real people, the true people, the indigenous people of Kemet, Egypt, ancient Egypt, was ruling, right? Before they were taken over and colonized by the different ones that came in from Europe and these here mixed Arabs came in and took over, right? So we know that Joseph was dark skinned. And we're going to look at something else to kind of establish that as well. Not in addition to what we've shown here about who was ruling during that time when he was there. Because they showed, and our people then put them people over them. Come on now. Our people want no punks like what they have in Africa today. Ruling Africa, the leaders I'm talking about, not our sisters and brothers. I'm talking about them leaders that are sold out. Those are the punks that I'm talking about. Y'all excuse me, but that's what I call them, punks. That's what they are, punks. Y'all know what a punk was. We know
what it is.
Yeah.
They're weak. Oh,
right. Yeah. A punk is a punk is a punk is a punk.
There you go.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Okay. Let's look at this here, y'all. Now, we know that we are the ancient people. We know that our family on the continent are still wearing the traditional clothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have these Jews in the middle, got the same thing as our sisters and brothers on the left and the right. Who's copying who?
They're copying us. Isn't that
the
Zulu people? They wear the black and white like that?
Always.
The Kosa.
Kosa? Okay.
Zulu wear it too.
Zulu too, yeah.
Zulu wear it too.
And them folk in the middle
look crazy.
You know, messed it up with that Russian hat. Come on, y'all.
I'm shaking my head. I have no words for this.
Come on, Russian hat. Russian hat.
This look crazy, man.
And what those little curly things supposed to be? Locks?
Those are locks.
No, that's punk.
Wait. Who really wears locks?
Huh?
What people wear locks?
Black folks.
So what
they got Shirley Temple curl.
That's right. Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple curl.
I don't know what it is. They call themselves trying to have locks because other people they imitate themselves with it. You know, they talk about locks in the Bible. And we know that don't nobody do, they have to do things to get locks in their hair. We don't do nothing, just leave your hair alone and we're gonna get locks. It's just natural.
Right.
It's natural for us.
It'll lock up.
And that so-called lock looks nothing like what's on the drawings, the walls in Kemet.
Nope.
It looks nothing like it.
Nope.
Absolutely.
But ours do. To this very day, ours do. Y'all need to stop.
And they look like
that's an insult. That's an insult to us. That's very insulting.
It really is.
Remember, Mama Brenda said, we're getting tired. Okay, she said that. Just look out for that video. That's all I'm saying.
They can't rock their clothing like we do.
They can't.
Rocking like us. Look at them, y'all.
They look like clowns.
Rocking. Look at how the sisters and brothers over here on the left and the right, how they
exactly.
Yeah. Looking all elegant.
Yes.
Sick, and then you got the picture in the middle. Circus show.
Yeah. Halloween.
Right.
Trick or treat.
All right, let's move on. To the Bible, what they have in the Bible, you all. It says, and I want us to focus on 8. It says, and Joseph was the governor over the land, and they said it was during the 12th dynasty. He was a governor of the land. And he it was that sold all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed themselves before him with their faces to the earth. When they had the famine, they came to Kemet to get some food. It was a famine always going on
Mhm.
In Africa, you all, drought, famine, wars, when the white folks came in and whatever. And Joseph saw his brethren and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, unknown, in other words, unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, where you coming? Where you come from? And they said, from the land of Canaan, not Canaan, Canaan, to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they didn't know him. Now let's kind of look at this and unpack this for a moment. Because what they're saying is, well, the reason why they didn't know Joseph is because Joseph, this is what I read, you all, Joseph had gotten old after being in Egypt for all these many years, and they weren't able to recognize him. Well, then if he got old, his brothers.
Exactly. They would be older.
So, why is it that he recognized them and they didn't recognize him? And they both were old. You see how they lie? I'm just showing you how they lie. They come up with lies that has no logic to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if they didn't know Joseph because Joseph had gotten older, then Joseph should not have known them as well because they too got older.
Right. Make it make sense.
Maybe because Joseph turned white.
Over there by the equator.
Right.
Then he would have had skin cancer and everything else.
Oh my goodness. And he would look
No, we can't make this stuff up. It does not make sense to us, does it?
Oh,
No, it doesn't.
It just, when you start pulling out the receipt, their lies just don't make sense. That's why they don't want people pulling out the receipts and exposing them for their lies, because the world will find out who they really are. You the lie. You riding off our backs of who we are.
Right.
What belongs to us. Off our coattail. And the time is over. Trust and believe. It's over. It's over.
Yeah. It's done.
Joseph was in Kemet, supposedly, and they came from Canaan. Like I said, I took some stuff out, but there was an article that talked about how there was an intricate relationship between the people of Canaan and Kemet, Egypt, because Egypt owned it. It was part of it. They had it where it was like a territory of theirs. No, that whole land was Egypt. And then they also had the same religion. That article said those that lived in Canaan of the Egyptians. Why did they have the same everything, you all?
Same people.
Same people. Exactly. Same people. Relatives. This is from a book, History of Kemet, from where he got entitled Egypt from 330 BC to the present time. Listen to this, or what this guy, Phil Melanin guy said. The Jews had settled in southern Ethiopia. Now we know that when they say Ethiopia during this particular time frame, it is not Ethiopia they're talking about today, because that area, what they call Ethiopia today, was Axum. Okay, the kingdom of Axum. It was not Ethiopia. Ethiopia during this time is the kingdom of Cush, which is modern day Sudan. So they said Jews settled in southern Sudan.
Oh, please.
So in Sudan, were there ever these people living there in Sudan?
No.
No. That's why I say you can't, these lies, we have to unpack these lies and show these lies so that those of our brothers and sisters that are still asleep, maybe something a jog in there, you will finally use your brain, because this stuff here is no-brainer when you look at it. It said the Jews. We know we didn't call ourselves Jews anyway. They didn't even have a J during that time, 330 BC, first and foremost. Yunde had settled in Sudan. And Sudan, we know it was really, how did this guy have? It was the Su was really the S they added to it, which was the land of the Jews, is how he broke it down. Sudan, land of Yaoundé. And it said they were there in large numbers for a long time. And Solomon had trade. And some of them were employed in high offices. So it wasn't just Joseph. So why don't Jews, they say was this, and high offices of people that rule that look like this? When we know our people during that time, they didn't allow that. They fought against some folks when they tried to come and take over. It didn't happen, you all. And must have brought with them the arts of civilized life. A few years later, Acts 27, we meet, pay attention to this. Acts 8:27, we meet with a Jewish eunuch, the treasurer of Kandake. Her name wasn't Candace. Kandake was a title that the ruling females had of Nubia, which is Sudan, I told you all. Today's Sudan. And those people we know, it was never none of these that settled in it. We know this. There was Nubians, black folks, melanated folks. But this guy is saying this Jewish eunuch, the treasurer of Queen Kandake, traveling with some pomp from Ethiopia, from Cush, to the religious festivals at Jerusalem. Roman government of the country was carried on in the Greek language. The coins often bear the eagle and thunderbolt on one side, while the other is the emperor's head with his name and titles. And after a few years, they are all dated with the year of the emperor's reign. In the earliest, it's styled as the Son of God. From the Egyptian title, Son of the S-U-N. So the Son of God in the Bible came from Kemet. And I've been saying this, and so many other people have been saying this. The Son of God in the Bible is not who Christianity teach is the Son of God, is inaccurate. It's been plagiarized. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they were referencing here, Acts 8:27. It says this guy in this book from 330 BC to present time, this Jewish eunuch, which they don't have in the Bible. So let's look at it. Now, the angel of the Lord said to Philip, rise and go toward the south to the road that goes down to Jerusalem to Gaza. There's a desert place. And he rose and went. And there was an Ethiopian, a Cushite, a eunuch, a court official of Kandake, queen of Cush. And he was referred to by this man as a Jew, not the Ethiopians of today, you all. That's not who he's talking about.
Because they've been infiltrated by the Italians, so that's why so many of them look mixed.
Mm-hmm. Also, the Romans, they had a pact. When you go back and research it, they had a pact with the Romans. And they wanted control. This was way back. They wanted control over the Indian Ocean. And they made a pact with the Romans and said, if you help. So they had a pact. Why is it that you think that Axum, what they refer to as Ethiopia today, which they didn't get that name, I think it was established in when they started really identifying it, I think it was in the 70s as Ethiopia, what it is today. And they did that to confuse people. They confused people. They tried to. Because when you read Ethiopia in the Bible, you're thinking them. And so now they're saying, oh, the Ethiopian Jews, and you thinking them that's in Ethiopia today, when actually it's not. They're referencing those people that's in Sudan in antiquity that mingled, and it was going up and down, always had an intricate relationship with their cousins in Kemet, Egypt. Because they want to take you away from that. So you see this picture here. This picture here is in Sudan, which is what they call in Ethiopia here. And they have the oldest pyramids, older than the pyramids in Kemet, and they have more pyramids than in Kemet. But you don't hear them talking about this because they know that this is where this came from, that's in Kemet. They live together, they rule. This one ruled Egypt this time, that one ruled Egypt that time, same melanated people. Related. Cousins. But they want to lie and says that who this eunuch is, trying to tie this to Ethiopia today. And they say, oh, and they mistreating them anyway. When they allowed what they call it, rescue mission hope or whatever they called it. I can't remember when they was bringing a lot of those Ethiopian to Israel.
Yep, and they mistreated them and still do.
Yes. One was killed some years back, a young boy. You know what? It don't matter where you're from. If you got this skin color here, this right here is against you. Everyone on the continent is waking up to that. They smile in y'all face. We know we in the belly of the beast. We know them inside and out. Smile in your face. Oh, everything is hunky-dory. You my friend.
Nope. Plotting, scheming.
Behind your back.
Yeah.
Behind your back. And they finally waking up.
You know, you said something interesting that just clicked in my head. You showed the back of your hand and you said, if you're this color and you turned your hand around, showing the palm of your hand, said they are against you. And what came to my mind was the Bible verse, Antichrist. When Yesiah said they are amongst us
even now.
All right. So let that one sink in.
And who was around during that time? Over in that area?
Them Romans.
The Romans and the Greeks.
Those Romans, the Greeks, these evil entities.
So he said,
just call it like it is.
And he said the Antichrist is amongst us now. And who is the Christ?
Us.
Christ.
So
when you really understand what it means by the Christ, is not what they teach in Christianity. It's the Christ consciousness of us that are awakening. That's the return of Christ. The Christ has already returned. Now we're getting to something different than what
we are.
But Christ has already returned. That Christ consciousness of who you are, melanated man. That's
again, I'm sorry. It goes back to being created in the image and likeness of our creators. We are the Christ. We have that Christ consciousness within us. So I'll use this phrase, palm-colored creatures are against us. Antichrist. That's who they are. Okay.
And just so we can know, since we're talking about this, Christ simply means the chosen one, anyway, selected. And that's where you get solele from, means to select, to choose. The Kikongo word is solele. And that is the word that they use for the true word for Israel is solele. My chosen one, my selected one. And I did a teaching on that way back. If they can go back and find that and broke it down in scripture, who was the chosen one? So we know that Esolele was a chosen one. And they were not this color. They were not pheomelanin people. And I've established that, very simply with this teaching is just a simple teaching. I'm just giving very small receipts, not many receipts, just few receipts to show this. Melanated people that were chosen. How is it that they can say in science that they know that the oldest people and the original people on earth, according to geneticists and scientists and anthropologists, are people from Africa that are dark-skinned people, and then you say that those that came of years later are the chosen people? Make sense. When the Bible says in the beginning. But you said thousands of years later, after he have created the beginning, he created, or the creator created the people. Make that make sense. Because the pheomelanin, the pink ones, they come around, they say, their geneticists, their anthropologists said 6,000 to 10,000 years ago is when that pale skin started coming around. But you want to say that you are the chosen people. Please make that make sense to me, because it has no logic whatsoever.
And we've been here thousands, millions of years.
Yes, way before them.
So then who
Oh my goodness.
are the chosen people then?
Right.
You already know.
When you look at that in perspective, who is that Bible talking about? In the beginning, not thousands and thousands of years
Later.
he created. I'm just saying what the Bible says. Both what? Male and female in his image and in his likeness. We know that the word or the adjective rather of he being ascribed to the creator didn't come around, and I showed this in the teacher too, until Christianity came about. Mm-hmm. So I'm just quoting in the Bible. I know that it is not a he, as they teach. Not a man sitting on the throne that they teach in Christianity. That is not God. Mm-hmm. That is not the creator, rather. That is not. I don't care what they say, what they teach in Christianity. They're still asleep. That is not the creator, you all.
But they snoring big time.
Big time.
Right. And they're still waiting on the dead in Christ to rise. Well, the dead in Christ is already risen.
That's that Christ consciousness.
That's Christ consciousness.
Yeah, the dead in Christ were those who were dead to themselves. They didn't know. When you don't know who you are and you are being something that you weren't created to be, essentially you're dead. We need to look at that in perspective too, what that scripture is saying, because we know in Christianity they teach it where you look at the Bible just literally. They take it literally, and a lot of it is symbolic. Mm-hmm. It's a metaphor. There's metaphors, in the Bible. So you have to look at it to see what is it really saying about the dead in Christ? Who are the dead in Christ? That's that consciousness. So you're not aware of who you are. So who has not been conscious of who they are?
Plenty of people.
It's us. The man. I already showed, for those that don't,
plenty of us
out there that's listening to this video, go back and do your research on what Messiah mean, Christ mean. Well, I said it meant to, Christ meant to choose, but Christ is really mean to anoint, and Messiah is chosen. But it's still the same thing, because when you anoint and you look at what they're anointing, that means that somebody has been selected or chosen for a purpose, and they were being anointed for that. Smeared with oil is what it meant. And they smear, and they still do this, I understand, on the continent, where they smear when they get ready to initiate a king or queen, they smear them with oil. Do they do this in Europe? Mm-mm. Do they even have kings in Europe anymore, besides over there in Britain? See, we need to look at this in perspective, you all. Why is it jewelry, language, culture-wise, what we see amongst our people and Kemet and even things in the Bible is still going on in Africa? But you don't see it in Europe, but you the people. Right. Why is that so? Make it make sense.
And the sad part is, we just do not, the majority of melanin people do not know who they are.
No.
If they did, oh my God.
No, they do not.
And the main thing is that they're still in church praying to Jesus.
If only they knew. If only they knew what they were doing with all of that.
And pleading the blood.
Yeah.
Greeks learned from the ancient Egyptians, our ancestors. It says Greeks had all the times been forward in owning the Egyptians. So they claimed them as enslaved. They enslaved them. As their teachers, also they saying that they taught them, the teachers in religion. That's why they said they had the Son of God. Who they talk about a lot in the New Testament? The Greeks and the Romans.
Mm-hmm.
And where you see the Son of God at is in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that in the Old Testament. It's primarily in the New Testament. It's because the Greeks learned from our ancestors our spirituality, some of it. And I showed you where it says they got the Son of God. They changed it from S-U-N to S-O-N. And that's why when you go in Revelation, they screwed up and left it in Revelation. And it says the Son of God in Revelation, but it's spelled S-U-N. And when I was in Christianity, I'm like, why got S-U-N for son? I said to myself, now I know. So they just plagiarized our scrolls and our culture when they went into Kemet and learned from our ancestors, and they didn't understand our culture, so they just butchered it, you all.
Made up something.
They made up stuff. And now you have our people in Christianity. Really, that's dangerous what's going on. You know, if it was not for the mercy of the Most High, what's going on in Christianity, the stuff you all, whew, man. Anyway, it says the Greeks gained their faint glimpse of immortality of the soul, the day of judgment. See, all this stuff is told in the Bible, in Christianity, the future state of rewards and punishment. And now, so they said that they got this from the ancient Egyptians, and we know who they were. Now that Rome was in close intercourse with Egypt, now Rome was over there. The Romans equally ready to borrow their religious ceremony. So they was really to get from because the Romans were the ones, wherever they went, they absorbed that person's culture, whoever they took over. And it became a hodgepodge. They brought to Rome the Egyptian opinions with the statue of the gods. So they got everything from our ancestors, you all. Everything. That's basically what it's saying. And it says they were treated as slaves by their Greek fellow country. And they talking about the Egyptians when the Greeks, the Ptolemies, when they took over, and they talked about the Greeks. They were treated as slaves by these people right here were treated as slaves by these people right here. Their houses was ransacked every third year by military authority in search of arms. They could have had no help from the Roman masters. Sound familiar?
Mm.
Who only drained the province of its wealth. So you see how they've been siphoning from the continent for thousands of years. And you see now how they are really rich because they stole it.
Right. They said
every bit of it.
Every bit of it.
Steal everything.
That's how they enrich themselves, you all.
Yeah. But listen to them. They pull themselves up by their own bootstraps.
No, they don't. They go around and they kill. They steal. They rape and they rob. They don't own nothing. They don't even own the air that they breathe. Mm-mm. They hate us because they know who we are.
Probably can't even grow anything in their land.
They didn't have food. That's why they started coming to Africa food. And I heard of the tales of all the riches in Africa as well. So yes, they didn't have food during that time. They were going looking for food. Not like they did in Africa. Okay, now let's come on home. So now we found out who really the people of the book are. So let's look at something here. Now this here are some Ashkenazi Jews that were in Rome in the 1800s, you all. Do they look like these people up here? They look kind of similar to me.
You mean the ones at the bottom look like? Oh yeah, yeah, they do.
They did. So these here are a group of Turks, you all. These are Turks. Remember that? And these were some Ashkenazi Jews in 1800 that was in Jerusalem in the 1800s, you all. Now, in this article that I was reading, well, you know what? No, this was a Chat GPT because I went to them and this is theirs. They put this information in Chat GPT. So this is them saying this. There is limited historical evidence. And it was based off a question that I asked Chat GPT. There is limited historical evidence regarding the presence of Ashkenazi Jews in the 1st century BCE. So I wanted to know, who were they? What did they look like? You know, so based on this question that I asked, this is what I got. So limited historical evidence regarding the presence of Ashkenazi Jews in the 1st century BCE. The term Ashkenazi specifically refers to Jewish communities that originated in the medieval period. So they didn't even come about that term until the medieval period in the Rhineland, in Germany and northern France, and later migrated to Eastern Europe. So in comparison, they didn't even come about with this terminology into the 1st century on after that. Before that, there was no such thing as an Ashkenazi Jew. Therefore, the concept of Ashkenazi Jews as a distinct group does not apply to the 1st century BC. So 1st century BC and on back, it didn't exist. It didn't exist. And it says historical records and evidence of Ashkenazi Jews as a distinct group began to appear, because I want to know, well, when did it come about, man? Specifically, began to appear prominently in the medieval period, as I said before, particularly around the 9th century onwards. Now, if you all remember that rabbi, I can't remember his name, that came out talking about how a lot of the African Americans are saying that they are the true Jews, and they are the true people of the book. And, you know, there may be some truth when you look at history and you heard all them chairs falling down. They was
the guy that had the red beard, the red hair.
Yes, I can't remember his name, but him and other people. Rosenberg. Harry Rosenberg. They set that man down too. You don't see him no more either.
Exactly.
So when you listen to him and others, you will hear them saying they always, because I used to say, why they always just say 8th century, 8th century, 8th century, and they don't go back further. Because there's nothing to substantiate their lie as them as being the people. So they started making up this lie around that time frame. And so that's why they stay up in that particular time frame. Then if they do go back, they have to make up lies, change up things, which is being exposed now. Mm-hmm. So this is from an article. Scientists reveal Jewish history, forgotten Turkish roots. Now, that's why I showed you all this right here. These people at the top here, Turks from Turkey. All right? They're Turks. And it says here, scientists reveal Jewish history, forgotten Turkish root. Now, research suggests that the majority of the world's modern Jewish population is descended mainly from the people from ancient Turkey, rather than predominantly from elsewhere in the Middle East. The new research suggests that most of the Jewish population of Northern and Eastern Europe, normally known as Ashkenazi Jews, are the descendants of who?
Yep.
The Greeks that enslaved these people and killed. Oh.
Wow.
Makes sense. So your DNA said that you are the people that enslaved my ancestors, whose identity you took over. Descendants of Greeks, Iranians, and others who colonized. So they was going around colonizing what is now northern Turkey more than 2,000 years ago. And when they say that Jesus was around, they keep saying, that he died on the cross over what?
2,000 years ago.
2,000 years ago. So 2,000 years ago,
They telling.
these Ashkenazic Jews, they said, are the descendants of the Greeks, the one that came in. I just read to you how they treated our people. Referred to them as what? Slaves. That was going in, taking their houses and things, you all. Have they children changed?
Nope. That's what they doing over there in Israel, in Palestine.
Exactly.
Yep.
It says, let's finish on. And others who colonized what is now northern Turkey is what they colonized more than 2,000 years ago and were then converted to Judaism. Let's stop right there. They converted to Judaism. Okay, let's go back to the Old Testament. According to what the Bible says, in the Old Testament, you have a group of people that they call Israel. And when you look it up, they said that these people are related by language, culture, and blood. Look it up. How do you convert to somebody's blood, culture, language? Either you come from them or you're not. How do you convert to? So clearly right here, this tells you this is a bunch of crap. It's religion. Religion does conversion. You can convert from being Baptist to Methodist, Methodist to Baptist, et cetera, et cetera. So this notion of Judaism, it has nothing to do with the people of the book. It's just a religion. Because when you study it, they'll tell you that the early form of Christianity actually was Judaism and that Christianity come from Judaism. What they say. That's what they say. And so it said they converted to Judaism probably in the first few centuries AD, by Jews from Persia. At that stage, the Persian Empire was home to the world's largest Jewish communities. You all. Let's let that sink in for a moment. That these folks that's parading around, saying they're the people of the book, God's chosen people on earth, are descendant of Greeks. Actually, they are hodgepodge, it says here. But I'm just focusing on that Greek part right there. Because we know what happened in Kemet. You had the Persians, you had the Arabs, you had the Greeks. Everybody was coming in, stealing and taking from our ancestors. Even their, what they call their, the intellectual, what they call that? They were stealing their knowledge. Property, intellectual property.
Intellectual property.
They call that theft today. Theft of intellectual property. That's what they did. So you want to claim that somebody is committing intellectual theft when they're the notorious for have done that to melanated people. Everything that you have. Didn't that Count Volney said that? Just to think, the very ones that we have enslaved, we got the art, the science, and the math from them. Did he not say that? According to research carried out by the geneticist, Dr. Elhak of the, I guess that's how he pronounces his name, of the University of Sheffield, over 90% of Ashkenazic ancestors come from that converted, partially Greek, originating ancient community in Northeast Turkey. Greek. Who colonized our lands before the Romans? Greeks. I just showed you all this. Understand, you all, what's going on here. See what's going on. His research is based on genetic, historical, and place name evidence. For his geographic genetic research, Dr. Elhak used a geographic population structure computer, and they said it was the first time this was ever used, trying to pinpoint actually where these people came from, which they say is an area called Ashkenaz. System to convert Ashkenazi Jewish DNA into a geographical information. So he was trying to trace their roots to where they came from, and he traced it back in that area. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that up here for a moment. You all discuss while I'm doing this, and so it won't be in the See while I'm pulling this. What we just talked about, your thoughts. What are your thought process on all of this stuff here, knowing that these people here that have stolen our identity were the ones that enslaved our ancestors and colonized our land. This. Ooh, okay.
You know, it really gets me because let me turn my camera on here. You know, it gets me because they say that they are the children of God, you know, and God, you know, basically, if they're the children of God, God created them, right? But she just showed and proved that they converted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you cannot claim to be children of somebody that you converted into. You know, and you don't even fit the description.
But they are the children of God.
Which God?
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
They steal, they kill, and they destroy. So they are the children of God, not the Most High.
And some of the actions that are going on today, you could say maybe the god, maybe Moloch. Molech.
Huh?
Well, don't they worship Moloch?
Yeah. You know, even in eating the meat,
Drinking.
you know, the drinking of the blood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't somebody have a picture of some European people eating a cake that looked like it was a black body? Y'all seen that going around?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That Mama, did you say you want to say something, Mama Nicholas?
No, it's just in the sacrifices as well, sacrificing children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so we clearly see they are not the people.
No, they're not.
Mm-mm. They're not who they're claiming to
No.
be. So here we go. Let's look at this, you all. Right here. So these ancient villages identified by the GPS tool, that's the tool that I just told you all about, are clustered close to the Silk Road. When you research, you'll see that at one particular time that the Silk Road was ruled because this was a trade route by the Jewish people. The ancient network of trade routes are named Ishkenaz, Eskenaz, Ashenaz, and Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with the Bible, you all. Actually, they put that in there. And it is likely that these are the villages that mark the location of the lost lands of Ashkenaz. So when you go here and look, where is that? Northeast Turkey. Who did I tell you those people were at the top there? From where did I say they look like? They're from Turkey.
Turkey.
So that's why I showed you all this to show. So you have to put the pieces of the puzzles together because what they have done is scrambled everything to cause confusion. So we got to put the puzzle pieces together so we can get a whole picture to see what's really going on here.
So they named themselves after a trade route?
No, not at the trade route was a Silk Road, and at different times, different people had control of it from the east and west, and that's actually how the people from Europe started coming into Africa during that trade between the West and China. That was trade going on, and so at one particular time, so it's just saying. Let me go back here and show you. So this is it. They named it this. This is them. It was a Silk Road, and that area was they were villages.
Mm-hmm. Go back.
To this one?
No. That one. Says the names. No. Back. Yeah. Stay. Where it says the names of Ashkenaz on the right-hand side.
Oh, that's ChatGPT.
Okay.
Uh-huh. It says they have historical significance related to the origins of the Yiddish language, which is the Yiddish language, if you research it, is a mixture of the German. Because they say it came really from the Slavic language.
Okay.
And then they mixed it up with Hebrew writings and Germanic languages, Slavic language. It's a hodgepodge of languages using Hebraic letters, though. And so they stopped speaking the Yiddish and said, we need to go and start learning. You see, they said modern Hebrew, and they say modern for a reason, because it's not the ancient that was spoken by our ancestors. And see, a lot of our people that are out there refer to themselves as a Hebrew Israelite, Yasharala, all this stuff right here. That's not our language.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully they will be enlightened to this one day and know that that's not us speaking that. What they're doing is speaking Yiddish.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they're doing is speaking Yiddish.
Mm-hmm.
Yiddish is not our language. And Yiddish is their language, the ones that have stolen our identity. They committed identity theft.
Calling brothers Ak.
Yeah.
Ak.
And so Ak doesn't even mean that. When you look at Ak, it doesn't. But anyway, hopefully they'll wake up.
Yeah, Mama Diana posted in the group Khazarians in the chat.
Yes, they're Khazarians. Absolutely. That's why they Ashkenaz. That's why I said we had to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So from the Ashkenaz, you get Khazarians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why you think fighting is going on up in the Turkey now over that land? You all, come on, we got to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Years ago, I read an article where the Jewish people said that they was going to take back their land, which was Turkey.
And I've stated this before, and I'll say it again. The one thing that we have to remember is that these entities, these Ashkenaz, they wrote themselves in the book. They put themselves in the book. Now, if they put themselves in the book, imagine what they did to the book.
Wow.
They butchered it.
They totally butchered it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is another reason why they didn't want our people to go and really begin to study that Old Testament. They wanted them to go into the New Testament.
Yeah.
They picked out what they wanted in the Old Testament. They didn't want them reading anything about freedom, uprising. They took all of that stuff out because they started reading those things. And they said that a lot of them started, having uprising. And so they limited, and I was telling my son too, also during that time when, they did that book, How to Make a Negro Christian. That book, I haven't really started reading it really yet. But the man that wrote that book, he did it to make us docile. And it stated in there, he said he noticed that when they were allowed to practice their Christianity, there were less uprising and there were more docile.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when he went around and he just like how to make a Negro, what was the other one? A slave or something. And how this other guy went around talking about pitting them against one another. He did the same thing. So they was using certain things as tools to make us more docile.
Like the Willie Lynch letter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he went around and he was telling people, and they said in the book, he was bragging that he never had any uprisings on his plantation. And he was telling them, if you allow them this religion, to accept this religion, you will not be having all these uprisings. And so that's what that book is about, to show how they use Christianity and basically began to teach our ancestors this versus our spirituality that they were practicing before when they came over here, because they brought some of it over here. And I've read where they were making them stop practicing it. And it's because this here religion make you docile, turn the other cheek, love your enemies, love your master, obey your master.
Mm-hmm.
So it was making them docile and become basically a slave to them.
Yep. More
and so that's why they was allowed. And so they had when they started allowing them to have their own church to themselves, they had to have an overseer in there. They have pictures where a white man and his family I saw, and that's where you get the term bishop from. I wouldn't want to be called bishop to this day. Our people are so ignorant and don't really do any research. It's referring to these overseers that were over our people. So now they have trained our people and warped our minds, so they don't need the white man in our churches. They have the black bishops and they're the black overseers to keep you docile and to teach you to forgive your enemies and love your enemies and those that spitefully misuse you. Now they're doing the job.
Right.
Y'all see what has happened?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then also that makes us wonder why they didn't want certain books to get to back to us, like Enoch and Jasher.
Mm-hmm. And they
Yep.
took a lot of them out.
Mhm.
So the how okay, make this make sense to me. Those Bible thumpers, you said that the word of God, the Bible, is the infallible written word of God. There were more than 66 books. And why is it in your Bible that it says the revised version? But it's the infallible written word of God. Don't you say that in the beginning was the word and the word was God? And then don't you say, or in the Bible that you read, it said that he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore? But the word has been revised? Who you say is God?
Right.
So if it's infallible, why do you need to keep revising it?
Right. And
Right.
who's revising it?
Right.
It's revised many times, you all, many
Mhm.
times.
Yeah. Yeah.
King James Version is a revision because we know it's even different than the 1619 version.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we got to remember they inserted themselves. They were not in the Bible. They inserted themselves.
Yes.
Okay, let's get back to this. So he said that they are converted.
You want to make it be
Oh, okay, yeah.
from current.
Mhm. So that the Ashkenazi come from that converted, partially Greek or originating ancient community of Northeast Turkey. His research is based on genetic, historical, and place name evidence. And he's a geneticist, and he's a Jew. Urquhart is one of them. So don't come to me, go to him. This is his information I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
It says that he used geographic population structure computer modeling system to convert Ashkenazic Jews' DNA data into geographical information, again, trying to locate them. He is an Israeli born geneticist. Not my words, one of your own. Go to him. Who gained his doctorate. Oh, so he has letters behind his name. You know how they are about these folks with letters, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
In molecular evolution from the University of Houston. Believes that 3 still survive in Turkish villages, what I just showed you all. Eskenaz, and Ashkenaz on the western part of the ancient Silk Road. So that's where they're located. On that route were part of the original Ashkenaz homeland in Turkey. He believes that the word Ashkenaz originally comes from Ashguza, the ancient Assyrian and Babylonian name for the Iron Age Eurasian steepland people, the Scythians.
Mm.
So we're going to do a research on the Scythian. We're going to go all the way back to see who really these people are, because they keep changing their name, you all. Really even get into deep into this, because I'm telling you, the stuff that I have and the information that I have is very deep.
Scythians. Huh.
Yeah.
Some analysis of Yiddish suggests that it was originally a Slavic language, like I told you all previously. And Dr. Elhike and others believe that it was developed probably in the 8th or 9th century. Remember, I told you that man always said the 8th century. That's as far as they go back. I don't hear them going back no more.
For some reason, when I look at that word Scythian, I think of like the Cossacks, the Russians, Slavs, Eastern European bloc.
Isn't it the Scythians that took over the Romans?
Mm,
Who was that? Let me see. Let's stop for a moment. Pause here. Just get a brief, because he's saying this Jewish guy, this Jewish geneticist, is saying that they came from the Scythians, really, right? So let's pause here for a moment real quick, you all. We're going to do a little research here online, so bear with us.
Interesting.
I know, it's very interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Catching them in them lies.
Yeah.
Lies, 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 lies. And more lies.
Who was
And
it?
more lies.
Jonathan Butler. Lies. Thought I read the message in your eyes. Oh my goodness. I tell you that they are like their father. They are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do.
Okay. So I'm not going to pull it up here, but it says here that the Scythians were a powerful nomadic people mentioned only once in the Bible in Colossians 3:11. Can you pull up Colossians 3:11?
Yep.
Their presence in biblical times highlights their significance within the context of the early Christian community. The Scythians were known for their fierce warrior skills, including prowess and archery and horsemanship. They were known for their warlike ways and often attacked Israelite settlements. Interesting.
Colossians 3:11.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put my camera on here. It reads, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. It's interesting. They got Scythian right after barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were the...
Why didn't they put Scythian up there with Greek or Jew?
Remember I told you, I read to you all, says that they are mixed with Greek and Iranian.
Mm-hmm.
It says here also, the Scythians were an ancient Eastern Iranic nomadic people who migrated from Central Asia to Pontic Steppe in modern-day Ukraine and southern Russia.
They're Ukraine and Russia. Wow.
Yeah, it's over there in Turkey.
Mm.
So it's, you see how this stuff is all coming together when we go back and start piecing the puzzles together?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, that guy had on a Russian hat.
It seems like the same wicked head just keeps popping right up again all throughout history. The same people.
It says that these Scythians invaded lands in present-day Poland around the 6th and 5th century BCE. It says, additionally, there is evidence that an unidentified enemy, possibly the Scythians, sacked the ancient town of Istria in Romania during the late 6th century BC. Interesting. All right, there we go. We'll look at that later. Wait a minute. See, y'all done got me want to look more about these Scythians that he said they come from, and this is their people. This is from the history, worldhistory.org. It's a history.
Just share that real quick.
Okay.
Let them see.
Let them see.
Yeah.
Okay, do. I will. So here, this is from worldhistory.org. And it says the Scythians were nomadic people, whose culture flourished between the 7th and 3rd century BCE in a territory ranging from Thrace in the west across the steppe of Central Asia to the Altai Mountains. And I got some information on that too. They keep changing their names. It was something else when they were in the Altai Mountains, you all. I've been researching this stuff for some years, and I think I'm going to put this anyway, but let's go. Mountains of Mongolia in the east, right? The geography of the open plain steppe, desert steppe, and forest steppe. So there you go. had few urban centers and had a nomadic lifestyle, riding horses, trending herds, and living in covered wagons. Wow. Okay. Didn't they have covered wagons over here when they came? They taught us when we was in elementary school, these pilgrims.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It says, while there is much debate about the origins of the Scythian population, of course it is. It's always when it's something they want to hide, I notice. They said that it's questionable or debatable.
Can't find nothing.
Yes. Not much information. Herodotus claims, and Herodotus was what they call the father of his history. He was a historian. And they agree with him as long as it fit their narrative. When he goes against their narrative, they say, oh, well, that wasn't true. Da, 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 da. I noticed that too. Herodotus claims, and most modern scholars agree, they moved west from Asia to Europe. And when you look at that picture of them in the 1800s, they look Asiatic. You all. They don't look like the ones that call themselves Jews today, but they started mixing with, I guess, their cousins and stuff over in Europe. But anyway, they moved from Asia to Europe by way of the Great Steep Corridor. Yet in the 1st century BCE, the Greek historian Siculus states that the Scythians at first moved north from Arzaxes River of Armenia. Another modern view is they moved south in several ways from Volga Ural Steppes into the North Black Sea. Again, that's still over there by Turkey, you all, the Black Sea, in that area, the Ural Steppes. It's still over there. And in the 5th century BC, Herodotus shows the Samaritans splitting from Black Sea Scythians moving east. This is interesting. However, as 1st century CE, Chinese chroniclers speak of their red hair and blue eyes. The Scythians. Red hair and blue eyes, their Caucasian features, and Indo-European language support Bronze Age origins in the West, likely from the Celts. We'll stop there and go back to our slide here so we can finish up. But there you go. Maybe we can do a teaching on that one day. The Scythians, and go back a little deeper on that. So some analysis of Yiddish suggests that it was originally a Slavic language, and Dr. Elhock and others believe that it was developed probably in the 8th, 9th centuries AD by Jewish merchants trading along some of the more northerly Silk roads linking China and Europe. By the 730s, the Khazar, there you go, Mama, the Khazarian Empire had begun to convert to Judaism during that time, and more people converted to the faith. Oh, it's a faith. That's that book that I got this out of book, you all, by that guy. But when the Khazar Empire declined in or around the 11th century, some of the Jewish population almost certainly migrated west into Central Europe. There, as Yiddish-speaking Jewish merchants came into contact with Central European, often Germanic-speaking people. And they began to replace the Slav words in Yiddish with large numbers of German and German-derived words, while retaining some of its Slav originating grammar. Many Hebrew words also appear to have been added by that stage. So it's a hodgepodge. The genetic modeling used in the research was based on DNA data from 367 Jews of Northern and Eastern Europe origin, and more than 600 non-Jewish people, mainly from Europe and Western Asia. I'm getting to a point here. The genetic modeling used in the research was based on DNA. Remember, everything's about genetic and DNA. From 367 Jews of Northern and Eastern Europe, I just read that. They analyzed the genome of 128 Jews, Ashkenazi, and compared them to those of non-Jewish Europeans. I like the way our people on the continent say it. Europeans, they don't say Europeans, like they said they're Europeans. I like that. Europe. Europe folks. the non-Jewish Europeans in order to determine which genetic markers are unique to Ashkenazi Jews. And they found the Ashkenazi Jews' genetic similarities were so acute that one of the study's researchers told the Live Science website that among Ashkenazi Jews, everyone is a 30th cousin. Now, I read also that they kept it within you all. Like, if y'all
Yeah.
the Blue Mountain folks, y'all heard about them Blue Mountain folks?
Blue Mountain. No, I haven't.
Oh, you should have heard about them. You in Tennessee. These
The
were
Blue
people
Mountain.
up in the mountains of
Okay.
yes.
Okay, like the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah. But
And those what are those mountains we go to?
smoking.
But yeah, but what do they call those? What Dolly Parton from? That area?
Appalachians.
The Appalachian Mountains. Those people, they called them, when I was growing up down south, we knew of the blue blood people where they mixed and mingled with one another.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, now y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what this is what they say in the Jews did. That's why I say everyone is a 30th cousin, is saying.
Wow.
The findings will enable research.
He said, wow. And I said, yeah. That's why they slid that stuff in the Bible.
Keep it in the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
The findings will enable you, and we don't do this.
No, we don't.
That's why I said
We're against this stuff.
that's why I said they slid it in there. Remember who wrote the Bible.
The findings will enable researchers to catalog nearly all of the genetic variations from the founding population. So they're looking at this to help with their genetic diseases that is inherent in them mostly. Now, I would like to say this real quickly, that in the world of research in healthcare, majority of the dollars are spent in researching disease that are prominent in European people. Very few dollars goes to the disease that are inherent to us. This is well known in the healthcare community, you all. So it says, such thorough genetic cataloging could help clinicians interpret individual genetic mutations, improve disease mapping, and provide insight into the histories of Middle Eastern and European population. Why you got the European in here with you? You're looking at their genetic to help with their, we're going to see why. Y'all see this?
Mm-hmm.
Improve disease mapping and provide insight into the histories of Middle Eastern and European population. We already know why they're doing this, because these are your people. You're one and the same. Let's look at this real quick. The common genetic diseases of Ashkenazi Jews. So let's go here real quick. Let me see if this is going to work here now. I got to share this.
Yeah. Stop sharing.
So the link took me to this here. So y'all can see where I'm at. You see this site?
Mm-hmm.
This is about genetic disease that are inherent in Ashkenazi Jews. And so I just want us to look at this one here. So you have Gaucher's disease is number one, and number two is going to be cystic fibrosis. I just want us to look at the cystic fibrosis right now. So remember that cystic fibrosis is one of the genetic diseases that is inherently in Jewish people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sharing. And go back here so we can look at this. We're almost done. We're almost done. Okay. Okay, so cystic fibrosis is one of the most common genetic genetic disorders in European people. And who are they focusing on? Themselves and Europeans. And where did they go after they left out of Turkey? In Europe. So this is why they're focusing on genetic diseases on European in themselves, because they're one and the same, you all. They're European people. Cystic fibrosis is one of the diseases that is inherently found predominantly in Jewish people. So when you go and look up cystic fibrosis, it is commonly found as a genetic disorder that's in white folks. Very interesting, isn't it? Genetics don't lie, you all. They can manipulate the data and put in literature saying genetics say one thing, but the genetics don't lie, though. So what this is saying is that they have the same genome as European people. And I'm going to show you something. It says that it is less common in African Americans. As a matter of fact, I've cared for one that had it, and it was a European child. Never seen or heard of any Black people. It says it is predominantly in white people, but yet it is genetically also inherent in Jews. So now that we found out that there is a common disposition of a particular disease that is inherent in Jewish and also their cousins, the Europeans, who they said they are not white folks, why do you have a genetic disease that the same as these white people then? If you're not the same people, this is genetic. Genetics, genes don't lie, you all. Is there a common genetic disease inherent in African people and people of African descent? Because if it's showing this in a genetic disposition of diseases and people that are the same, that have the same genetic makeup, which I've shown you in the Jews and the white people, Europeans, then we should see that in the same in our cousins on the continent and us here in the diaspora. Is there a common genetic disease inherent in African people and people of African descent as been shown amongst the Europeans and Ashkenazi? And we definitely 100% yes. And that's sickle cell disease.
Yeah.
So I'm using genetics to show you how they are one and the same. I've even showed you from a culture perspective how they are not who we are. So it says some genetic disorders are more likely to occur among people who trace their ancestry to a particular geographic area. So in other words, we come from Africa. And we have genetic disposition to our people, our family on the continent. To those who said that you are not those people, why is there sickle cell so common amongst our people? My brother have the trait.
Yep.
I'm quite sure some of you all know somebody in your family that may have a trait or even may have the disease itself, because it's very common amongst African Americans. And as you will see, very common on the continent of Africa. Why? Because we have the same genetic makeup. We are the same people genetically. Freaking. Just like the Jews are the same as their cousins, European. That's why they have cystic fibrosis. Theirs is cystic fibrosis, and ours is sickle cell anemia. So it says, let me move this so I can see here, you all. Some genetic disorders are more likely to occur among people who trace their ancestry to a particular geographic area. People in an ethnic group often share certain versions of their genes, meaning your DNA, you all, which have been passed down from a common ancestor. You see that? So they have a common ancestor for them to have that common genetic disorder, just like we have a common ancestor because of this common genetic disease we have with our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Which again goes to prove that their ancestors are not ours.
Yeah.
If one of these shared genes contains a disease-causing variant, also known as mutation, a particular genetic disorder may be more frequently seen in that group. Examples of genetic conditions that are common in particular ethnic groups are sickle cell disease, which is commonly found in who?
People of African American, or Mediterranean heritage.
And that Mediterranean is just a term, a political term that they use in that area that was part of Africa at that particular time. That's all. Those are people. If you got sickle cell, you got some black blood in you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's saying.
You melanin. You melanin.
In Africa, at least 240,000 children are born each year with sickle cell disease. Y'all see that? It's wide. So it's not only happening a lot in America amongst us, but our family on the continent, y'all, we're one and the same. Y'all understand that? Because some on the continent think we're not. We are, just like you said, they took your ancestors off the continent. We say they took our ancestors off the continent. Come on, let it click in. And we're here because of those ancestors that you say are your ancestors that they took. We're the children of those ancestors of yours. We're one and the same. Almost 80% of sickle cell disease births occur in sub-Saharan Africa, where they took us, our ancestors, from. The geographic range of sickle cell anemia extends throughout most sub-Saharan Africa, north of the Zambezi River. Both hemoglobin C and B thalassemia are confined to more limited parts of West Africa and to the historic trade routes of North Africa. As a result, hemoglobin sickle cell anemia is by far the most significant form of sickle cell disease in sub-Saharan Africa. I went somewhere. Where'd I go? Here we go. That's it. And that is it. So here it says, this is what the last slide right here. This was the one I was on. This is it. We use approximately 250,000 single nucleotide polymorphisms throughout the genome to examine the level of admixture and genetic ancestry of 1,810 African Americans with sickle cell disease and compare patients' genetic profiles to 3 groups of African Americans without sickle cell disease and several Black African and Caucasian European populations. African Americans with the disease have less Caucasian admixture than African Americans without the disease, and I don't agree with that. I don't think that's true, you all. That is saying that if you don't have it, because you have to have, in order for you to get it, both parents have to have the disease. If one parent have it and the one other doesn't, you will have the trait. So I don't agree with this where it says African Americans with sickle cell disease have less Caucasian admixture. Do you know anybody in your family that have sickle cell disease?
No.
How much Caucasian DNA do you have in you when they did your genetic?
None.
None. So you see what I'm saying, you all? Be careful what you believe what these folks say, because they be lying for a reason. He has zilch. And most of us, you will see in their literature, will say that African Americans, because they raped our ancestors when they stopped abducting our ancestors off the land, and they came up with these these rape, I call them rape farms, and to produce people then to enslave them then. So, and it wasn't by them having some type of moral epiphany or anything. I found out through my research that it was, I forgot the name of the uprising. It was so big amongst our people that it crushed them. And they were afraid to continue getting Africans, our family, off the continent, because when they were coming over here, they were fighting an uprising against these beings over here. And so they wanted to have children to shape their minds, is what that article said. So that's why they stopped getting them, because they said it was too much fighting that was going on, and they were weakening our ancestors. So they came up with these forms over here and started shaping the minds of our people using mental manipulation. It says their ancestry is most similar to the Yoruba, the people of Yoruba, Mandinka, and the Bantu populations in Western Africa. Well, we know who we are. We know who we are. They don't have to tell us. So I just did this to show you all the lies and come with some receipts of how they're lying and what they're lying about. They are not our people. So Kyrie Irving and all the other people that come out saying this, they're not lying. And because they have so much power and influence because they own the media, as Kanye West said, that is true. When you go back and research during the World Wars, when their father created their financial dynasty, they manipulated the war, and that's how they got a lot of their money. Go back and research, and I'm not going to get into it too deep, but I can research all that and how they manipulated the war. And he had a spy over there, and he said had the spies that come tell me. Their father said, who won? And he said that the French had won, but actually it was the British had won. And so he lied and said the other, and then he started, when he put it out in news in the media, they started taking their stock out of the British stock market and it crashed. He started buying it up. When the truth came out, he was already rich. And they said that's how he made a lot of his money. And so his children realized in this article that control, because they're all about control, was in media. Because remember, he had a spy over there. So they started buying up a lot of media and realizing that this is how you can control the narrative. This is where the power is at. And that is why when you look at it, Kanye did not lie. They own all the media. So they put all these lies and narratives out there. Be careful what you hear in these news media, even with TikTok. Even though TikTok allows more than on YouTube, there's still something, because they took down a video that I had on TikTok. So that's it. That's all I have for today, family. Any comments, questions, thoughts?
Thank you for that. It was a beautiful lesson. Beautiful.
Powerful. Powerful.
Powerful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So they are not who they say they are, you all. We're hated for a reason. Melanated people are hated for a reason. It's because of who you are. A lot of people don't know. They haven't awakened, like somebody said earlier, to who they are, that Christ consciousness has not arisen in them for them to know who they are and why they're hated. Why they're hated.
Which in turn causes them to hate themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just like that letter that Mama Bantu read, how they were going to shape our minds, our ancestors' mind, to where we would hate everything about us and love everything European, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why?
I was awakened the other day listening to a conversation that my wife was having with her daughter, and she asked her, where was she wanting to go? They're going to be going on vacation. She says, I think the only place right now that I really want to go is Greece. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to cringe when she said that. I'm thinking, like, Greece? Do you know what the Grecians did to our people?
What?
Well, they think that the Grecians are the cream of the crop because they attribute everything to the Grecians that the Grecians got from our ancestors. They block out that part that the Grecians learned from our ancestors. So they think that they're the cream of the crop when they're not. They didn't know nothing. They didn't know squat. They learned everything from our ancestors. We're the cream of the crop. Yeah, I said it. We're the cream of the crop.
The Greeks are the plagiarizers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the Romans came in, they learned from the Greeks, and rest is history. The rest is history. So time out for the lies. And we're not
time out.
We're going to expose it all and bring it all out. And still, this is nothing compared to some of the things that I've seen, because they constantly changed their name. And it was this European guy that talked about that. There was a name that the Chinese back in antiquity gave them. I can't remember. And some people up in Europe, because the Jewish people would constantly change their name, and they would say, don't go by the way where they stay, because they will kill you and take over your identity. What have they been trying to do to us?
Kill us and take over our identity.
Thank you. So nothing has changed, you all. You got to go back. You got to go back and put these pieces of these puzzles together, you all, to understand what's going on today. We have to understand history. A lot of people say, well, I don't do that. I don't go. You better.
Mm-hmm. You better. Yeah. They remain asleep if they don't. They remain lost if they don't.
They don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. Because you have some people that are awake, but they don't have all pieces of the puzzle. Just like our family, our brothers and sisters over here in America, the Hebrew Israelites, they know they the people of the book, but you still trying to act like them white folks.
Mm-hmm.
So you trying to speak the Yiddish language.
Yeah.
Our language.
You keep the feast. Those are not ancestral days. When you go back to our history on the continent and look at those days that are special to our ancestors, is not those days those Jewish people celebrate and honor.
Right.
So what you're doing is you mimicking folks who you hate, but you're mimicking them. What sense is that? So that's why it's important to know history. If not, you really ain't away. You say you're away, you just know who you are, but you really ain't away.
Yeah. And then you can ask yourself a question: why do they keep on changing their names? What are they hiding?
Who they truly are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, other people need to wake up and ask that question to themselves.
Exactly.
And then you have their own people that are giving historic information about who they are.
Exactly.
Like in that book, The 13th Tribe.
Yeah. Arthur Kessler.
Yeah. Yeah. And
then Henry Ford wrote something about them. And then I just gave you where their own geneticists. That's why they don't want people to do DNA over in it's illegal over in Israel.
Yeah, because they don't want them to know exactly who they are. They want to keep them in the dark.
And 23andMe, they were coming out and they were showing how a lot of people that were Jews that was taking this, how they had European descent. And so they had 23andMe. I read an article on this. They went and had them to change that narrative up.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't find it because they be moving stuff and scrubbing stuff, you all.
Wow.
But when that was coming out, they no longer allowed them to come out to show that.
Man,
so they have lied to the world and saying that they're the people of the book, and you're not. You came in and I showed you. They said they were the Scythians. He said he believed the Scythians, the Greeks from Turkey.
And the lies are catching up with them now, boy. Woo.
Yes. People are going back and they're researching and they're looking and you have many people that are doing this. You have what's that other guy's name? He used to be with Ron Dalton.
Ben something.
Yes, but he focused mostly on the people that they took and enslaved over there in Spain and then brought them back into the different areas that they started colonizing.
Yes.
And Benaiah, Israel.
Benaiah.
Yes.
But that's just a small piece of it right there. Because the first of our ancestors that they took and enslaved them, they took them over there in Spain. That were our people. So, and that's where his focus is at, and everybody has their piece of the pie. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Right. That they went over there and then they brought them back and they put them, when they kicked them out, he's showing how they took them to different parts of Africa. So I'm like, what? What?
Okay, you're breaking up.
So when they kicked them out in 14, 18, 19, there were certain parts of Africa that they sent them to. One of them was the island of Sao Tome.
Yes.
The Jews that they sent over there. Nobody over there but black folks, y'all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I'm like, in other parts of West Africa, when they kicked them out, the Jews, when you go back and research it, in these areas that are in West Africa, the little islands and things, I'm like, you said you the people, and you said that y'all was kicked out of Spain, but these folks was kicked out into Africa, and ain't nobody over there but black folk. Where y'all come in at? You see, so I'm assuming that they never thought that we was going to read when they wouldn't allow our ancestors to read. And that was one of the things that guy said in that book about how to make a slave, how to make a Negro a Christian. That's when they started allowing them to read the Bible. That's why they had to change it and come up with the slave Bible. They have done so much manipulating, so much lying. And our family need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Especially those in Christianity, because that ain't it. That ain't
That's
it.
why the school system is pretty much just like the church itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they teach you, and what they teach you, they want you to regurgitate it
Mm-hmm.
and not study it for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Or ask questions.
Right.
Because they teach you in church, you don't ask God questions. Y'all ever heard that when you was in Christianity? You don't question God.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And they even tell you don't question the past.
Yeah, they tell you, yes. Well, I don't think I heard that because I did as a pastor.
Yeah,
I asked
in
questions.
our church.
Did they?
Yeah, you don't question the past.
Who's a pastor don't have the answer?
Yeah, you just take his word for face value for whatever the
Right.
pastor says. No, you don't. I don't understand this stuff. I know I don't now, and I try to be sympathetic to our people because I was there once. Thankfully, I am awake. I'm so grateful that the ancestors saw fit to the Most High to awaken me, to be one that is awakened during this time to who I am still awakened. It's still a lot because this stuff has been going on for thousands of years. So this is we just know very little, you all, this information that we're discovering. We still got a lot to learn. We still got a lot to pull out and uncover, what they have hidden because it's so much and it's so deep. The rabbit hole, so deep, you all. It's so deep. Because this has been going on for thousands of years. The Romans and the Greeks were over in our land before Christ came around. And they keep saying, I've been hearing this since I was a child. Oh, Christ died 2,000 years ago. I'm grown, got grandkids. I'm still hearing he died over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you're a little child and he died 2,000 years ago. Here you are, whatever age, and he still died 2,000 years ago. Seriously. So all these years that have passed by, and it's still 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And your parents, your grandparents have heard this.
Right.
2,000 years ago. But anyway, so according to that, the Greeks and the Romans was in our land before that time, you all. By the time the Christ even came around, the Romans had took over that whole area. So if that was over 2,000 years ago, they've been in our land colonized because this was during the Roman. Before the Roman, it was the Greeks. For the Greeks, who was it? The Ottoman Turk? Was it the Turks? I can't remember how it goes. There's been so many that came into our land. No, it was after because it was the British that came in and overtook it from the Ottomans. And that's how when you research what I was telling you all about the world wars, you will see how the British got Jerusalem. Because all that ties in with him having a spy out there on that ground and lying and saying that it was the French that won. They played them. The Jews played them. Their father did. And then came and told the French. They was getting ready to make a peace deal. Their father said, no, don't do that. I can get the United States, or well, he's at America, to come in and help you. That's how America got in, and it became a world war.
Yes.
And so this is what he told the British did. That's what it was. The British, he said, I can tell, I had it backwards, I'm sorry. He said that I can get them to come in to help you. Don't give up and don't sign nothing. And so because he told the British hold this Rothschild or Rothschild, however you pronounce it, a favor. And that favor was, give us this land. Mm-hmm. And you came in with the Balfour Declaration.
Yes.
British. Because who won? And who got that land?
Yep.
British. And then who gave it to the Jews? The British. That's why I said a rabbit hole is deep, you all. It's very deep. So we're going to stop sharing, I hope this helps somebody, this little piece of information, and others go back and just finish up the research and studying on their own, because this is nothing right here. This is nothing. So, and we're going to, yeah, I'm finna end it now.
We'll see them. We'll see y'all.
I'm just, you said this.
Sorry, I'm not on camera, everybody. I'm up walking around trying to take care of my back. But we love you all. We thank you for being with us. And until next time, you all be increased.
What's going on?
What's the word? It's a Bantu awakening, heard all over the world. What's going on? What's the word? It's a Bantu awakening, heard all over the world. Hey yo fam, it's time to wake up. Don't hit the snooze button. We gotta gird up, put your sire on. He's the word, you know. We were like